Hey, I'm Victor Margiotta, and this is The Community Show. I have two guests tonight. We're going to talk about nutrition, we're talking about heart health, and I always push that people should get involved in the community. Don't complain about things, get involved, do something about it. Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. And so my guests tonight are Karen Mayo. She is a board-certified Integrative Nutrition Health Life Coach. She's also the author of the bestseller, Mindful Eating, 20 Days to a Whole New You. So congratulations on the book. And my other guest is Carolyn Torella. She is the Regional Director of Communications of the Hudson Valley American Heart Association. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So what I want to say is that, now we have to get involved in our own health so that we can get involved in the community and volunteer or, do some things with elderly people that might need help. Your neighbors, everybody wants to change the world, but it all starts with helping your neighbor.
Right. True.
And so why don't you tell us a little about yourself, where you grew up?
Sure. I grew up in Pennsylvania on a farm. We had pigs and cows and a big, huge garden that we picked from. And, my mom cooked and I helped. So I grew up in, we raised the cows and we raised the pigs and we shared them with family and friends. So at least, we knew where our food was coming from.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Well, I have a garden. I've been gardening I've always wanted a garden, but finally had the space to do it. And the tomatoes alone,
Yes. I know.
fresh tomatoes.
That's why I have a garden, just so I can have tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's so different from what you get in a supermarket. The taste is incredible.
Oh, the smell.
Yep. Whereas like peppers, I find that's kind of the same as supermarket or homegrown, but it really is, the tomatoes are amazing.
And cucumbers too.
Yes.
Like just even watching your produce grow from seed to on your table is amazing.
Right.
Just the transformation it goes through is awesome.
And you know what goes in there, like what fertilizer you put, if anything, the dirt
Absolutely.
you have. So it's an education really, and
is.
it's important to know and to teach kids too. It's always, the American Heart Association has gardening programs in the community, and we always try to encourage kids to get involved with the garden with their parents and also in the kitchen, because once they understand where it comes from, then they're more interested in it, and then they're more apt to eat healthier foods because they can see where it's coming from.
I love that.
Yep, it's great.
It's great.
It's terrific.
So where'd you go to school?
I went to the school for Integrative Nutrition in the city, and then after graduation, I wanted to learn more. So I ended up getting my personal training certification and also getting certified in sports nutrition. And I loved it. We learned over 100 different dietary theories, and my teachers were the most amazing nutritionists and researchers today. Deepak Chopra,
Oh my God.
David Katz,
Wow.
and Joel Furman. Just so many amazing people.
And it's great to learn from the best, because you're really getting the source of information there. And that's why the American Heart Association loves working with someone like Dr. David Katz, because we know that they're distributing real facts and real information of health, because it is confusing when people have a health issue and they go online and they're looking for information. How do you sift through all of that knowledge out there, and what's the true stuff? So we want to encourage people to come to the American Heart Association website to get information about nutrition, and especially now March is Nutrition Month, so that's why we're kind of here today and talking about all this wonderful food on the table, and using Karen's expertise as a nutrition expert. But it's important to get to know the facts and understand what it is, because you can't, it's like they say when you're on an airplane, right? When the mask comes down, you have to put it on yourself first, and then you help someone else. So you really have to start with yourself, get yourself healthy with good nutrition and then you can help your family, your friends, and other people, your coworkers, the community, and get them educated as well.
And another thing I'd like to add too is that every body is different. So what some people eat could be poison for another person's body. So it just depends on what's going on with you and how you grew up. Your ancestry, your background.
Well, now there's a big thing with gluten. Everybody's
gluten intolerant.
And talk about that.
Well, again, You have to, gluten intolerance is also goes back to being celiac.
Okay.
So you have to be tested for that. Some people are gluten-free because it's a trend, but some people really are,
Right. And it can make them very sick.
it can make you very sick. And sometimes it's actually, doctors don't, they don't treat it like they should.
Right.
They just think it's another symptom or another
And
chronic illness.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does damage to the intestines, which
Absolutely.
could be permanent and debilitating, and they really can't absorb nutrition like they normally like a healthy person would.
Right.
So it does debilitate them and can stunt growth in a lot of children, especially
right.
if they get it when they're young.
And it affects, it's grains, so it then affects your brain. And if it affects a lot of things. So you really want to go to your health professional and make sure that they're doing blood tests
Right.
and that they're also testing you for celiac.
Wow.
Right. But most people are not allergic to
correct.
or don't have celiacs and stuff. But so we do encourage people to enjoy whole grains in their diet as opposed to processed white flour,
Yeah.
Correct.
which is really,
Well, it's
there's
not good for
benefits in
anybody.
terms of processed breads have vitamins added to it. But there's no grain, there's no fiber in there, so you're not getting that part. And that actually helps with diabetes, which is a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. And the white flour just jacks up the blood sugar. So we try and explain to people to use whole grains, especially on sandwiches
Yep.
and pizza doughs or whatever, and to enjoy less of it because it's really a lot of calories in that as well.
Right, and there's a lot of ways to make dough too, because you got the quinoa, and you have you can have dried out flour made from vegetables.
Yep. I see everybody making cauliflower crusts now.
Yes.
That seems to be a
Yeah.
big thing on the
Huge.
internet.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I haven't tried it yet, but
No,
it looks
it's delicious.
good.
Yeah. And so
Right.
there's a lot of alternatives
Right.
to that.
Now, cauliflower, does it have much nutritional value?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just like our cabbage here, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do they figure it out? Is it chemical tests? What do they do to?
I don't necessarily know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
answer.
I think so. It's they can analyze what
Right.
nutrition content is in a food product by chemical tests and basically just finding out what's in there through chemistry.
Yeah.
But it is important. Maybe we should just back the conversation up a little bit to talk about, like we were saying, it's Nutrition Month, and February was American Heart Month, and
Yeah.
really, we always talk about how one of the main things about having a healthy heart and preventing heart disease and stroke is nutrition. So there's really a two-pronged approach of physical activity and then also nutrition. And you really can't you can't have one and then not the other in order
Correct.
to become preventing heart disease and stroke. You have to
Right.
have both at the same
Sure.
time. So the American Heart Association recommends 30 minutes of exercise per day, most days of the week, which adds up to about 150 minutes of kind of strenuous activity to the point of where you're starting to get out of breath and you're starting maybe to sweat. So 30 minutes most days of the week. So that's like 5 days a week of 30 minutes. And it can be broken up into like little chunks, like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, as long as it's, kind of a more strenuous kind of thing. But then also a healthy diet. And we know that less than 1% of Americans have really all the attributes of an ideal healthy life, including nutrition. And we're eating too much junk food, too much salt, too much fat, and not enough fruits and vegetables. And they did even some studies that said that if you were to just increase your fruit and vegetable consumption by 1 per day, that you could actually save almost 50,000 lives just by eating more vegetables and fruit.
I love that. That's
Just
wonderful.
all you did was just eat one, and now 40,000 lives. So it's that's what we know about heart disease and stroke is that 80% of it can be prevented by making choices like what's on this table here, except that one. But but that's okay.
Let's
So let's talk about that
the
cream puff.
puff.
Right, that's a
Okay.
beautiful cream
All
puff.
in moderation.
That's right.
There you go. I mean,
That's right.
balance.
And as long
Life
as it's
is balance.
homemade.
And
Right.
homemade.
And homemade.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that because a lot of desserts that we buy for enjoying, we get from the supermarket or from stores that are processed. And so let's talk about what's in a processed bakery good, for example.
Sure. Well, you can have processed can be everything from the words that you can't pronounce to butter, milk, and eggs. So again, you just have to. I would not recommend processed, obviously, but I would recommend homemade.
Right.
With butter, eggs, and milk.
Because your body knows how to process those
Yeah,
foods.
they're all
Right.
natural.
Right.
But where you have a problem is like the baked goods from like a store is trans fats.
Right.
And because your body does not know how, and it rejects it actually. So, and that's why the American Heart Association also fought for getting trans fats out of the food chain, which
Yep.
they're going to be doing. They're phasing it out. So by 2018, it'll be phased out of the food chain. So when you buy products like a baked, like a baked Danish or something,
So-
that it won't have trans fats in it.
Wow.
So that's going to make an impact because those trans fats are they raise the bad cholesterol, and that's
Yeah.
what we don't want to see.
Yeah.
So
Heart disease.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I'm going to pretend I know something.
Okay.
And, there are constantly chemical reactions going on in your body.
Of course.
And if you don't have the right chemicals for these reactions, then you have things like free radicals that come in instead of the antioxidants.
Right.
And they replace the chemicals that you would normally need for these reactions. And I mean, that opens up for cancer
Right.
and cell breakdown.
Right.
And the importance of eating a healthy diet is to get these chemicals in your
Right.
body
Yep,
so
the
that,
nutrients.
that you can have these normal chemical reactions
Right.
that go on.
Right.
And the enzymes and everything else.
Right.
How'd I do?
You did great. No, it's great because it's you're more about eating the antioxidants, which is your natural. Like garlic gets its flavor from the photochemicals, right? Blueberries are blue because of the photochemicals,
Yeah.
right? Things that just happen in nature.
Sure.
So when you're eating all of those antioxidants, it actually acts like a little sweep and goes through and takes care of the free radicals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And you can get a lot of those from the cruciferous family. So we were talking about the cabbage before, broccoli, cauliflower, and that group. And let's talk about like the dark leafy greens because those are, everybody's eating kale now, right? So
Yep.
kale is the
Yeah.
new pesto, right? And
Yep.
and so
Yeah, kale pesto.
Yeah, and
and arugula pesto.
it's
and-
beautiful. Now that has a lot of nutrients in it.
Absolutely.
That fights cancer, but also is good for preventing heart disease and stroke as well. And the idea is to try and get more vegetables on your plate so that it
Yep.
squeezes out the bad stuff.
Well, right. So I recommend doing the 80-20 rule, right? So you
Okay,
have
what's
80%.
that?
So your plate, you want 80% of healthy foods
Okay.
and 20% of acidic,
Yeah.
or your that's a healthy acid alkaline balance. So and that's really the 80-20 rule can be put to anything that you do. And so you're eating healthy 80% of the time during the week,
Yeah.
and then 20% of the time you're eating what you'd like.
Right,
Right.
right. Yep, I think that's a good rule. And everything, like you say, in moderation.
Yeah, and it's a good idea. Now, a lot of times I'll wait until I'm hungry and then eat these things that I don't really like, and because I'm starving, so I'll eat cabbage or, well, I like escarole, but kale is not my favorite, but
Right.
because I'm starving now, I'm going to eat it,
Right.
So, and of course I put it over pasta with the onions and the garlic.
Right, and that's
great.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
terrific.
And you know what? That's also we were talking about children earlier, and
Yeah.
how do we get them to eat healthier?
Right.
And you know what? Eating, putting it in with pasta, or putting it in with even having salad on top of your pizza.
Right.
At least you're getting the greens in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And start slowly.
Yes.
So just add the extra greens in with the pizza. Have a huge salad and then a slice of pizza.
Right.
So we have the book.
Oh, yes.
And what inspired you to write it?
That's a really good story. My sister, single mom,
Okay.
she enrolled into the Army.
Yeah.
She wanted to have a better life for her son after she got out of the Army. So he couldn't go with her to boot camp. So he stayed with me during his 6th grade school year.
Oh my gosh.
And he was diagnosed with ADHD. And was
No, I got it.
yeah, and he was eating everything from fast food to TV dinners, and his favorite snack was in a bag, of course, with food coloring, red and yellow and
Yeah.
blue, and that was the reason why he was taking medication for ADHD. And when he came to stay with me, we established a new routine. So I made him breakfast. I packed his lunch almost every day, and then I fed him a healthy, nutritious dinner.
Awesome.
So we were on this really amazing journey for 4 months where I was feeding him healthy, and I get a call from the school, and they're like, "We'd like to see you about your nephew." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." At first, I thought maybe he really did need his medication because he never came to my house with it. So I go to the school the day of the meeting, and I walk through the doorway, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in big trouble." because was the principal and the vice principal, Scott's teachers, and then when you're diagnosed with ADHD, there's a special set of teachers.
Yep.
And then there was a person from the school district. And I walked through the door, and the teacher who called me right on cue, right? She was like, Karen, don't worry, you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Go ahead and have a seat. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. So I sat down, and I listened to them tell me how pleased they are with Scott, that they were going to reward him with straight A's in math throughout the school year.
Wow.
And he was on the honor roll, and he's in the top 10% of the kids nationwide.
Wow.
With the online math problems.
Wow.
His math teacher told me she was in awe of him. She would watch him multiply 3 numbers by 3 numbers,
Yeah.
arrive at the correct answer, and not even use scratch paper. I was like, oh my God.
So his mind had completely
Yeah.
kind of freed itself after
Yeah, so
got
he
rid of
was
the
he was
junk.
eating cleaner. His body and his brain were thinking more clearly. And that was one of the questions. They were like, what did I do
Yeah,
since?
what's going on?
Yeah, so what happened? And he was a student, a C student that was always sliding by every single year. And I said, I was just doing what my mom and dad
Sure.
did with me growing up, because this was my first time taking care of a
Sure,
teenager.
right.
I didn't, I just kind of thought
Right.
what I was doing was the right thing to do.
And then he was able to just launch off on this, new kid practically,
Yeah,
right, on healthy
yeah.
stuff. And that's not the first time we've heard stories like this, where once you cut out the junk food,
Yeah.
that there's a transformation in the body and also in the child itself. And that's why, also the American Heart Association has programs in schools to teach kids about healthy eating and exercise. But also we're advocating for rules that help the schools get healthier foods to the kids through the nutrition and school lunch program.
Well-
because we were really subsidizing unhealthy foods
Yeah.
by letting schools sell whatever they wanted to make a profit, really.
Yeah.
But really, why were we doing? We're making our own children ill. We're paying taxes to make our children ill. It didn't make any sense. So now we have stronger rules
Well, that's
to get
why
whole
they said
grains,
they wanted to
more
take the
fruits and
soda
vegetables.
machines out of the school. What does a soda machine do?
Right, why
in
is
a
it there to
school?
begin with?
Right.
Exactly. And that's an easy fix, right? We
Right.
were talking earlier about sugary drinks and talking about how when you do have a drink for a kid, right, it should be something healthy. It shouldn't be something that's filled with sugar. I used to see kids at the bus stop drinking, power drinks, those power energy drinks or sports drinks, juice with a lot of sugar. I was like, whatever happened to milk or water or unsweetened juice?
A lot of those drinks are full of sodium
Right.
as well. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I shouldn't say. it,
Right, well,
but
the sports drinks, the athletic
sports
drinks. Yeah, exactly, right.
full of
Sodium.
Yeah.
Right. Which is really, and they were designed for people who were, at
Yeah,
their peak
exercising,
efficiency,
right,
right,
and
and
you
really
lose-
sweating it out. And
Yeah.
that's what, but now kids are drinking it like, like just a regular soft
Juice.
drink. But, let's talk, maybe we could have
Yeah.
these beautiful things.
Right.
And that's a good substitution, right, for kids to have, like a smoothie type drink in the morning, maybe with yogurt
Absolutely.
and fruit and not adding any sugar, because it gives them all the nutrients they need and
Yep.
some protein maybe from the yogurt
Well,
and then fruit.
Yeah, the fruit has its natural sugars in it. So, I mean, it's a wonderful thing.
And it's quick, and it's
quick,
fun.
yeah.
It's fun for them to get to learn how to
Blender.
use the blender,
Yeah.
and they just all have all the good ingredients. But you have to do the shopping ahead of time, and that's
Yeah.
maybe you could talk about how to get ahead of meal planning on
Sure.
a weekend.
Yeah, so what you want to do is plan your meals on the weekend and make a huge pot of like quinoa and have it for the week. That way you can just mix it with vegetables,
Right.
or make a big pot of soup.
Right.
Or cut your vegetables up. Prepare your week on the weekends, and it'll be a lot easier to grab and go.
Right.
Now, when you're cooking, me personally, I don't add a lot of salt. At the restaurant, I've even had people complain, "Oh, this doesn't taste salty enough." Well, the salt is on the table.
Right.
If you want more salt, just put it on.
Right.
And I've worked with some people that, like you were saying, you went to a restaurant where the salt was just
Right.
unbearable.
Yes. Yep. And it's important. I mean, that's something you can control, sodium in your food, especially at home. And that's why, it's best to make your meals at home, and because you can control what goes in it. So sodium, you can
Yeah.
control what goes in your quinoa or your salads or whatever. And, at the American Heart Association, we talk about the salty 6, which is the 6 saltiest sources of food in the American diet. And it's, you know, it's not what you think. Like poultry, you wouldn't think that that would be the top 6 salty foods,
Yeah.
but it's because now the processing of it, they inject it with like chicken broth and sodium solution as a preservative,
Right.
but also to plump it up.
Yeah.
You know, which is why, like on Thanksgiving now, no one ever has to worry about drippings in the pan because
Yeah.
they're injecting basically the chicken broth into the chicken.
Wow.
It cooks out, and now you have beautiful drippings. But you also have a lot of sodium. But also breads. You know, when you think about flour, white flour. It doesn't, you know, if you taste white flour just out of a package, it has no flavor at all. So you have to add a lot of sodium to get a white bread to taste good, which is why a whole grain is nicer too, because you need less salt, because whole grain has like a nutty flavor naturally.
Of course,
But then canned products, soups, tomato canned products and stuff. And you know, we have some samples of canned goods on the table, but you can always find lower sodium
Yes.
choices of those. And to also rinse them
And
well.
added more water.
Right, add more water, exactly.
And you have that more content as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really have to kind of watch out for the salty sticks creeping up into your diet, and aim for foods like you say, like that are natural, because there's no, you know, very little natural sodium occurring in fruits and vegetables.
And they also have a lot of water, so they're very hydrating.
right, right, and yeah, water is important, right, to
Yeah.
stay hydrated. How much is? There's always a quandary about like how much you're supposed to be drinking.
Right. Well, you should drink half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces a day. Or your 100 pounds, you should be drinking, you know, 50.
Right.
So also at this time of year, people sometimes are, you know, dehydrated. So if you're already thirsty, or if your lips are chapped,
Right.
that means you're dehydrated. So that means you need to have more water,
Right.
or foods that have water in them.
I don't smoke, but it's a big problem.
Yes.
And it's easy for me to say don't smoke. And I have a friend that smokes, and he's trying so hard to stop, but it's
Right.
so addictive.
Yes, it is addictive.
And the harder he tries to stop, the more he smokes.
Right.
And it's just this, you
Right.
know.
Yes, smoking is really.
Yeah, smoking is really bad, but if that person, if your friend, actually, I've helped someone quit smoking just by changing their diet.
Yeah.
If you put more greens, like if he does an actual green smoothie, that will change his palate.
Huh.
And once you start changing the palate, you'll start changing your what you eat. and
What you're desiring.
What you're desiring.
Because food does come in like a cycles, you know,
It
like if
does.
you eat something sweet, like in chocolatey, now suddenly you want something the opposite of that to
Yeah.
kind of change your palate, like salty.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
you have the salty thing. Now you want to go back to the sweet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like a vicious circle of
Yep.
like you know.
No,
stop eating
it's
junk food.
changing your palate and what you're putting into your body.
Right. And sugar too is addictive.
Yes.
Yep, sugar's
Very
addictive.
addictive.
Yeah.
It's sugar is one of the I think one of the biggest, or number one even, addictions, right? Well, besides
Right.
smoking and food.
Right, and we have control over that one. Whereas like tobacco literally is an addictive substance. And there are some free tips and resources online at the New York
Okay.
State Quit Smokers Hotline. You
All
can
right.
call and get free resources there as well. And they have the patch and all kinds of things. So to quit smoking, they really do talk about a multi-tiered approach. So it's not just one and done. Cold turkey,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
one like simultaneous thing that you can do with a patch, with
Yes.
sometimes hypnosis, with a
Hypnosis.
dietary
Yeah.
approach.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
and you can do it simultaneously, and if it fails, keep trying, because that's the worst. It's the single most preventable cause of heart disease and stroke is
Yeah.
smoking. And the earlier you quit, the better you have
Yeah.
a chance
They
of
say
living a
you-
longer life,
yeah.
without
Your
illness.
body starts healing itself right away.
Yeah, well.
So.
Yeah. And it does affect the cardiovascular system. It's not just
Absolutely.
lungs. It
Right.
really
Well, you
does
ever see the
damage, permanent
commercials?
damage to the heart.
Every-
Oh, it's
every-
horrible.
Yeah, every
But that's
drag
right.
is,
But that's what we're trying to do, is scare the kids basically
Yeah.
from smoking. So
But the problem is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
yes.
But we won't go into that.
Right. Okay.
So let's talk about the walk.
Let's talk about the walk.
Yeah.
We have some great events coming up. So we talked about before about how there's a two-tiered approach, exercise and healthy eating. But the Heart Walk's coming up on March 25th at Marist College in Poughkeepsie. And then we have other walks as well in Putnam County, and then in May 2nd at Tri-County Heart Walk in Rockland County. But you can go to heart.org/Hudson Valley and look up all of our Heart Walks. It's all on the same page, and find one that's close to you. And you can come walk for your heart, and then raise money to walk for other people's hearts. And for
Excellent.
funding research as well.
So we talked about the juice. It's nice if you have your own juicer. The problem is cleaning the thing. That's, everybody loves to juice.
Right.
But it's, and this whole process of eating right and exercising, it's time consuming.
It's not. It's
Okay.
not. It's not time consuming.
Go
Right.
ahead.
It's just,
How do we do it?
No, it's just scheduling it into your day, like
All
you
right.
do anything else.
Okay.
You schedule a doctor's appointment. You schedule exercise.
Yeah.
You schedule. It's again preparing. So once you prepare, it'll take some time. It's baby steps. So once you have those baby steps going into walking, you'll be on your way walking.
Put
to
one
a
foot in front of the other.
Exactly. And you'll be on your way to a healthier lifestyle. And again, it's those baby steps, those small steps will make a lasting change.
Yeah. And routine. I mean, just like the smoker, it's a lot of things are, he goes outside, he has a cigarette. He does this, he has a cigarette.
It's a habit.
It's a habit. It is a habit.
So you got to change the habits now into healthy habits,
Right. Right. Exactly.
Looking for fruits and vegetables,
Right.
A lot of the stores that you go into, the first thing you can walk into
That's
is
right.
the produce.
Yes, don't avoid
So-
that section.
No.
Spend a
don't
lot
go
of time in that
yeah,
section.
don't go flying by and,
Right. We
head
actually
over
do
to the-
supermarket tours with
Yeah.
dietitians and stuff,
Yeah.
and we spend most of our tour in that section. And it's amazing how many fruits and vegetables people have not ever tried in their diet once.
Wow.
And so spend a lot of time there, and also in the frozen fruit and vegetable sections as well. Those are packaged mostly at the farm.
They are.
And their nutrition level is
Absolutely.
is pretty high, right?
It's high,
So-
yeah. So most of the time, if you're like there's fruits and vegetables are not in season,
Yeah.
because seasonal eating is a great way also to stay healthy. I would absolutely recommend going to the frozen because they were picked at freshness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the berries.
Berries, yeah.
You can get really nice berries frozen.
And throwing them
and
in
just
a
throw in the
blender.
fruit. Yeah.
Throw them in the blender is a great way for your smoothie.
Right.
Okay.
And the kids will love it.
Yep,
Sure.
exactly.
All right. So let's go to the exercising. For me, I like to lift weights. I had just got back into exercising, and then I got sick the whole month of February. I got that bug that went
Yes.
around. It was like
It
crazy.
never stops, right?
No.
But exercise can help actually, keep going a little bit at it, even when you're sick.
Yeah.
Unless you have a fever or something,
Yeah.
try a little bit,
Right.
just so you don't get, so weak. It's
Yeah.
important to keep going. Even in the winter, a lot of people stop exercising when it gets cold out. But you can walk in the mall. You can, if you belong to a club, obviously
Yeah.
you can go to the gym
Well, that's
and
the
work
thing.
out there.
That's
Yeah.
usually the time you want to
Right.
join. the
But even
club.
in at home, like you can
Yeah.
put on, the internet and go find yourself some free workout videos.
They're
and
all,
just yoga. You don't have to go to a yoga class.
there's apps on your phone.
Right.
There's
so many
resources.
And it's good to fit that in, like you say, as part of your schedule. I mean,
Yep.
I know people who, they take out their work schedule and they put it in as a meeting.
You have to.
Because otherwise, people will start scheduling over what you would, normally have as your walk time or whatever.
Yep, and actually that's a great idea because even just to do it during the day in your work day, because you'll get more done later on after you're done working out.
Right.
Because you get more oxygen and you're
Right,
feeling
your mind
good.
will be, you don't
Yeah.
get that 3 o'clock crash where you've had the
Right,
coffee in the
exactly.
morning
Yep.
and the sugary thing, and then you
Right.
crash at 3 and everybody runs to the coffee shop.
Right, that's that sugar blues roller coaster.
That's right.
Okay.
And at any point, we didn't talk about the time of day when you eat certain foods or not. Like in the morning, it's really bad to have like a high carb kind of thing, right? Because doesn't that send
Alright.
your sugar up through the roof?
Okay.
Well, what I recommend is to do your fruits in the morning and then your vegetables in the afternoon. Like if you're
Okay.
juicing, you do your fruit juices and your you can do fruit and vegetables in the morning,
Yep.
but you don't necessarily want your fruits in the afternoon because of the high sugar.
Okay.
Oh,
So you want to do your vegetable juicing in the afternoon.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to have to do part 2 because we have 37 seconds
See, I
left.
knew we'd go through it so fast.
So I'm going to say get involved in your own health.
That's right.
And, in order to get involved in the community, you have to feel healthy and,
Oh, absolutely.
mind, body, and soul.
That's
We got to keep them all in shape. So eat right, exercise, and, take a bath once in a while. That's a good idea. So, especially for other people.
That's
you know.
right. It's a good community thought.
Right? But thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And email me if you want to come on the show. But my email's up on the screen. So thanks for watching. Please eat right, exercise, and try to take care of yourself. Thank you.